Welcome back to episode 14 of Just Ask Her. I can't believe it's been a week. I know I say that every time, but
This one felt more like a week. Like it's felt like a week since we last.
You know why I don't think it does for me is because I just listened to this podcast.
Oh,
And it took me a couple days because I listened to it in the car. And I have to say, I think our last podcast was probably one of our best.
really?
Yeah, I laughed through the whole thing.
So funny. People are probably like, you listen to your own podcast?
Judge away. I listen to a lot of podcasts, but I want to make sure that
it sounds right.
And that obviously as a contributor, we're in a little bit of a different mindset. We have to think about production value and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, I just edit and toss it up there without a
I know
second
you
glance.
do. I don't think you ever care about like my flubs. I'm sure
Whatever.
the things that you flub on get edited out.
No.
Mine, they just get left in.
Whatever. That's not true. No, but there's been a few episodes that I'm sure you guys have noticed. There's been some like extra gaps, or there's been like 2 of our episodes, the intro is like completely wrong. Something happened with the file of the intro.
You forgot the commercial in the last one.
Yeah, but you know what? Like, I'm human. Like,
Yeah.
this is until we have a full production studio and a team doing this for us, you guys are going to have to fumble along with us because this is the best I can do at the level I'm at with the information I know.
Yeah.
I think I do a damn good job considering
Okay.
this is not my full-time gig.
So we totally went down a rabbit hole on that one.
Yeah.
But I did just listen to it, so I think that's why it feels
Honestly,
like
I
it's been a
just think
minute.
it makes us more relatable. Like, we don't sound like a huge
Mel Robbins.
Yeah, like
Someday move over, Mel.
Yeah, no, I think that this podcast will get there, but right now we're human. I make human mistakes and sometimes things slip through the cracks and you'll notice it in our show. That's just the way it is.
Okay. So in addition to listening to the podcast, I also carved out some time to watch Love is Blind.
Yeah, I've watched every episode.
Okay. We have to tell the listeners that we actually know somebody.
First of all, this last season of Love is Blind, which probably is not the demographic of the people listening to our show that watches Love is Blind.
I don't care what demographic you're in. I highly recommend it. Watch it.
I don't really recommend it.
Why?
I think it's okay. And I think it's more interesting because we know somebody on it. But outside of that, I think the concept's dumb, to be honest.
Oh, I don't. Especially now that Daniel has been on it. And
I don't think can you say that we know him?
Why can't I?
Oh, okay.
It's being filmed here it was filmed here in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And so the whole cast is from Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And I know so many people who know somebody who's on the show.
Yeah. If you're in Minnesota, you likely know somebody who's on the show or know somebody who knows somebody who's on the show.
Yeah.
It's not like that insane that we would know somebody that's on it.
And to be really honest, I don't know him that well.
Yeah.
I think I've met him actually once or twice.
Yeah.
We're friends with his mom and dad. Watching it through the eyes of a parent, I was so choked up because I was listening to what John and Sally had to say about this relationship that came through such unconventional methods.
Yeah.
And they were so encouraging and there was so much unconditional love that I was so choked up. And it's so genuine. I know that so many people will argue this with me, but
like me.
It is so genuine.
I'm definitely more of a skeptic. And I think that with reality shows, it's really hard for me to actually get into them and buy the storyline. I think that things are just overly produced when it comes to reality TV.
And there's obviously production involved with this.
Well, yeah,
a lot of production.
Which is what makes it, because I think it could be a cool show, and I think this about most reality TV shows, it's if they didn't mess with it so much, I would actually enjoy it more. Even if it was a little bit more boring because there isn't as big of a storyline, I would like it more because it actually seems believable. Like some of these things in these reality shows, like this specific concept of this show is Love is Blind. You don't fall in love with somebody because of their looks or their appearance. You fall in love with them for their traits and their values and their compatibility with you. You never see them. So these contestants go on the show and they talk to each other through a wall. Basically, they call them the pods. And that's how they connect. That's how they build a relationship, is through this wall. Like, they never see each other before they propose. So they're saying the concept is love is truly blind. You don't have to see the person to
Mhm.
love them. And to an extent, I get that. And I think that for some people, that is a reality. Clearly, we've seen other contestants last in relationships with people that they met on the show and things like that. So clearly, that can be the case in some scenarios. But I hate that they make them propose by the end of it. It's 10 days. They have 10 days to get to know each other through a wall and then propose. That bugs me because true relationships don't form in 10 days. There is a lot of fluff that gets thrown into this. It would be much more realistic for them to get to know each other for 10 days and then go try out a relationship in real life and give it more time than a
Yeah.
month to get married. Like,
Okay.
that just doesn't really
So,
make sense.
but just to be fair, we are only seeing small segments of those conversations. And Sally said on the episode, none of us have been exposed to the hundreds of hours that they spent talking.
Yes, and I get that. I do get that. But still, 10 days is not enough time. I do think that there are rare occasions where it works out, that somebody you meet, you instantly connect with, and then it works out. I think that there's so many things that get overlooked and so many things that you don't fully know about each other until you've had
Yeah.
the adequate amount of time to get to know each other. And I'm sure it feels very real. And I'm sure that they do love each other. They do feel love for each other at this point. I get it. They're spending a lot of time together, but still, it's like, at the end of the day, if they're meant to work out, they still would 3, 4, 5 months down the road, a year down the road. Like,
Yeah. But
what's the point?
they're not going to capture the audience's attention.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what I don't like about reality shows, because it could be real. Like, it could be like a very real situation, but they throw all these like random things into it that like make it so not real. And that bugs me. I can't like really invest in something when I don't think that it's legit.
Okay.
Anyways,
You
that's
have
my
differing
rant.
opinions on Love is Blind.
Yeah. Again, I think it's a cool concept. Like, I get it. And I think that people absolutely can fall in love with somebody they've never seen before. I do think that concept is true. It's
else
helpful
did-
that we know somebody on it, but
Yeah. So what else did you do this weekend?
I went to the Vintage Fest in Minneapolis. My college roommate, she is a fashion designer, and specifically she thrifts things and then remakes them, or she reimagines them, is how she says it. And so she actually had a spot in the Vintage Fest. It was like over 100 booths of vintage resellers. It was so cool to see her in her element. I'm wearing her.
Oh my God, I was just going to ask you if you got that there.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, this was hers. One of her things that she thrifted. It's a little alligator pin, and it was so cute. She had them like on playing cards. That's how she like pinned them and then put the price on the playing card. It's so cute. If you want to check her out, her Instagram is LA Styles. So it's L.A._Styles, I believe.
I've always been inspired by some of her work. I think it's
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I mean,
interesting.
she's styled shoots. She's been in shoots for Vogue before. She's styled shoots that have made it into Vogue, a big magazine brand for the men listening that
Yeah.
don't know what that is.
She went to the Met Gala.
She went to the Met Gala. She works for a tailoring company that tailors styles for men and women that attend the Met Gala, which is like the biggest
Yeah.
event for celebrities in the entire
You've
world.
made it when you
Yes,
get
when you get
invited to the
invited
Met.
to the Met. Yeah, so she's done like really cool stuff. Yeah.
Okay, should we get into our first
Yes,
submission?
we should.
So I just want to say thank you for all the submissions. I was like blown away by how many there were. Took me a long time to get through them. We picked 3 or 4
4
to
yeah.
go through today. And if
Hopefully we get through all of them.
if we didn't choose yours, it's not like we're deleting them. We keep them
Yeah.
for potential future episodes.
Yeah. We hope that even if your submission doesn't get picked, that you can find the value in other people's situations
Yeah.
because a lot of them are very similar. And
Yeah.
so we try our best to pick ones that we haven't covered before, but also that relate to other ones that we've been asked.
Yeah.
If we haven't picked yours specifically, know that we really appreciate you sending it in. And there's still a possibility that we might
Yeah.
filter it through again.
Did you see the one from the guy who said, I think I'm a really good looking guy. I have a great sense of humor.
No, he said, I think I'm exceptionally
Yeah.
attractive or something like that.
It made me laugh out loud. And then the next line was, and I think I've got a good sense of humor. I'm like, yep, you do.
Yeah. No, honestly, one of the things that I really appreciate about men that women just don't have is so many men have this undenying confidence about their looks specifically. There are so many men that fall on the other side of that too, but I think that it is a pretty stark difference between men and women as a whole. Women don't necessarily have this like unshakable confidence. It's like
Right.
harder to find women that have that because there's always something better to women. You're always comparing yourself to other
Yeah.
women.
Yeah.
But there are definitely men out there that have this unshakable confidence and they're open about it. They're
Yeah.
like, I know I'm super attractive or exceptionally attractive. A lot of women wouldn't say that about
Yeah.
themselves. And I just think it's interesting.
But
that-
he also knows that
Yeah.
there's room for growth. And so that was the
Yeah.
reason why he wrote in, obviously. We're not making fun of you. I just thought it was
No.
cute. I often reread some of these because
Yeah.
I'm so amazed at how vulnerable
Yeah.
some of
Yeah.
these men are.
No, I am highly impressed by the people that write in because these are vulnerable topics and they are probably hard to even to put into words, let alone put it somewhere that could potentially be used like for a whole audience to listen to.
Yeah.
And so I think like the confidence alone or like the courage alone that it takes to just write into a show like this is impressive. I've listened to podcasts where they've done listener submissions and thought to myself, oh, I would want to know their opinion on my situation, but I don't think that I've ever had the courage to actually write in. And yeah, we are just very appreciative for the guys that take the time to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that, I'll read the first submission.
Go for it.
We titled it, Is She Ready to Date or Am I Stuck in the Friend Zone? My name is Keith. I'm a 25-year-old single man living in Southern Illinois. I love the podcast and would like some advice on how to keep going. Stay away from dating apps because there's just too much competition. Recently, I met a woman who has a 3-year-old son. We've hung out several times just as friends because she isn't ready to date yet. I truly enjoy spending time with her, and I've even had the opportunity to meet her son. I feel like there's something real between us, but I'm unsure if I should continue respecting her stance or just rip the bandage off and put a title on us. She's been opening up to me more and has been the one asking to hang out. I think she might be ready to date, so should I just ask her? I would love your advice.
If you've listened to our episodes before, our answer is going to be yes, you should just
Yeah.
ask her.
Yeah.
I also think it's interesting because he didn't necessarily put her stance. Like he didn't come out and say what her stance was. He said, unsure if I should continue respecting her stance. So that gives me a little bit of pause here because if she has told you, does it say it in here?
Mm-mm.
No. So if she's told you like flat out that she's not looking for anything serious or she's not looking for a relationship right now or she's focused on her son or if she's flat out told you, that's a different story. I think you should respect that
Mm-hmm.
for sure. If she's flat out told you that. If that's something that you're assuming because she hasn't really put a title on you guys or she hasn't made it obvious or she hasn't initiated that conversation, then yes, absolutely, you should just ask her. If this is based off assumptions, that's a different story.
Yeah, he did say we've hung out several times just as friends because she isn't ready to date yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what he's saying is the stance. Yeah. So I would just get clarity around what that means to her, right? Again, unless she's flat out said, I am not ready to date. I won't be ready to date until X, Y, or Z. Or I'm not looking for a relationship. I'm not interested in dating. I think if she's flat out said those things, then I would respect her stance. And you can keep spending time with her for sure if that's what you want. But you would have to manage your expectations that it might not turn into anything other than a friendship. If that's what she has said.
Yeah.
If, again, if this is based more on assumptions, like she just got out of a relationship, or maybe she said this a few months ago that she's not ready to date, or she has said things that have led you to believe she's not ready to date. I think that calls for a conversation. I think that calls for opening up about how you feel about her. And you can say, hey, I've gotten signals, or you have mentioned that you're not really in a place to date. I don't know if that's changed for you, but I felt like I needed to tell you how I feel so
Mhm.
that you know where I stand and we can both be on the same page. And I don't say this to put pressure on you, but I also feel like you need to know where I stand. And then you can make a decision from there. If she is still appreciate it, but I'm not in a place to date or whatever it is, then you decide, okay, can I continue a friendship with her? Can I continue a relationship that isn't romantic, that potentially never will be romantic with her, right? You need to decide that for yourself before moving forward with whatever type of relationship you guys have in the future. Again, I don't think there's anything wrong with staying friends if that's something you're okay with. But don't stay friends with the hopes that spending more time together is going to change her response. It might. It's definitely possible.
Yeah.
And it could, but you can't stay friends with that being the hope. You have to respect her stance and stay friends with the idea that it's just going to stay friends. And I would say that would also mean you exploring other options, you dating and opening up to other options.
I would say stay in the driver's seat so that you get to create the playbook
Yeah.
for your life. It sounds like you have a lot going for you. Your willingness to invest in this connection already shows your genuine nature. So I'd say trust your instincts, be honest about your feelings, and then give her a safe space to share hers. Everything that Gracie said is spot on. You've got to be honest, but ultimately, clarity is going to benefit you both. And it's going to help you decide if you're ready to take that next step or if it's best to continue enjoying the friendship.
Mhm.
So, communication is going to be key here. I would say keep doing what you're doing and don't be afraid to just ask her. You have our permission, but your primitive brain is going to offer you a whole lot of what ifs. Just know that's coming, right? Expect that's coming and question those thoughts so that you're not operating from fear. You're operating from, okay, I expected these kind of thoughts and I'm still going to ask her. That's what keeps you in the driver's seat. That's what neutralizes and normalizes the fear. That's the key. It's not trying to get rid of it, it's trying to normalize it.
Mhm.
So I think you're doing everything right, but our advice is absolutely just ask her so that you've
Yeah.
got the clarity that you need to move forward.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. If it hasn't been like clearly stated up until this point, like if you guys haven't had this conversation before and she hasn't like directly told you she's not ready to date, then yes, you definitely should have that conversation with her and find out where she stands.
All right, let's go on to submission two.
Yes. Thank you, Keith. Okay, so our second submission says I am 66 years old, straight male, married for the first time for 25 years, the second time 17 years, divorced now from both. My issue in dating is that I'm not attracted to women from 55 to 75. They all look old. They truly can be nice, intelligent, interesting, and some even want to be in an intimate relationship. So I chase the 35 to 50 ladies with little success. I guess they think I'm too old. I am in good physical shape, exercise often, kind, smart, and know how to treat a lady. How can I make it happen with a younger lady? By the way, your tip about commenting on nail polish color gets smiling every time.
I remember when we gave that tip.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I've also put it in a video or two. But yeah, I think you're not unlike a lot of guys out there that are wanting to date younger. I don't think that's out of the norm. I don't think that's crazy. I don't think it's weird.
I'd say
To
own it.
yes, to an extent. Own it. Definitely. Like you can be open about it.
I think if
But
you're trying to be sneaky and sly and not, he obviously is owning it. He's writing in about it.
Yeah.
But for those who are listening who are like, yeah, that's true for me too.
Yeah.
The advice is not to be shy about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. The thing that's interesting is like you give some pretty big age gaps. Like you said you're not attracted to women from 55 to 75 and you fall in the middle of that. And then you also say that you are attracted to the ladies that are 35 to 50, which again is a really big gap. I think that the problem you're probably facing is that you're basing it too much off of an age, a number. I'm assuming there's a number in there that you are looking for. Like I said, the 35 to 50 is a pretty big age gap. I find it hard to believe that you can't find success with somebody within that age gap or age range. But you're probably not approaching it the right way if this is something that you have been continuously trying to do. It makes sense that you would naturally attract women that are closer to your age because they're going to be the women that can relate to you most on a lot more things. Like the bigger the age gap, the harder it is to find more common ground, to find things that you guys can relate on. Again, I've said this before, I've said it in other episodes. Age, as cheesy as it is, it like really is just a number. Relationships work all the time with big age gaps. So I don't think it's necessarily the age gap itself. I think it's not being able to connect on a level that you would with somebody that has more in common with you than somebody who is less than half your age. Like it just inevitably you won't have as much to connect on. And so it makes sense that you're having less success attracting women that are that much younger than you. It takes more intentional effort. It takes a lot more intentional effort to attract somebody that is that much younger than you than it would to attract somebody that is closer in age.
Yeah. I think you're going to have to be pretty intentional about the way you're presenting yourself.
Yeah.
On a dating app, you're going to want to refresh your profile
Yeah.
so that it resonates with that target age group. Or if it's in person, maybe you're going to want to up your style a little bit
Yeah,
so
totally.
that it's resonating with that younger age. I think you're probably going to have to put yourself in different types of locations. You're going to want to make sure that you are presenting the best authentic and genuine version of yourself, one that communicates both maturity and an active, adventurous spirit. You obviously have that. And so I would address the age gap right away. I'd be very open. I think you might find younger women are initially hesitant because of the age difference, but sometimes that straightforward conversation where it doesn't come across as you're trying to hide anything and take the focus off of age and put it onto shared interests.
Yeah, and connecting with each other. I think another good point is figure out what qualities you have that would attract younger women, right? Figure out what things younger women are looking for. I would say things that you have going for you are the fact that you have so much life experience, the fact that
100%.
you are probably in a better place financially than
way more stable.
Yeah, than guys that are in their early 30s, or you do have an advantage in some areas. So figure out how to leverage those and figure out what qualities you do have. Like you said, you like to exercise often, which means you probably are doing things to take care of your body and getting out and being active, things that younger people tend to do much more than older people do. So there are qualities that younger women would find attractive. So now the thing is like figuring out how to leverage those qualities to your advantage, knowing your audience and knowing what women in that age bracket are actually looking for in a partner, right? There are definitely women out there that are attracted to men that are older than them. I don't think that there's tons of women out there that are looking to date guys that are twice their age, but there's probably some that don't factor it in at all. They are truly just looking at the qualities that you have and the value that you would bring to a relationship. So it's really positioning yourself in a way that like you show the value that you would bring to a relationship, even one where there's an age gap, right? I
Yep.
think that is probably the most important point that I would hone in on.
And I think sometimes a little humor goes a long way, just like our tip about commenting on the nail polish color. Use those playful kind of details to break the ice. Genuine, lighthearted conversation can make any potential age gap seem less daunting.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think that if you're not being so rigid about the numbers and you're not like making it a big deal, you're not saying, "Oh, I'm twice your age. Are you going to be into a guy that's twice your age?" Don't make comments like that. Don't give her reasons to doubt why this would be an issue. Carry yourself with confidence. Show that you don't think it's an issue, that
Yep.
you don't see it as a problem, and carry yourself with the confidence that you know you'd bring value to a relationship, even if she is a lot younger than you. A lot of women are burnt out on guys that aren't serious or aren't wanting to get serious about a relationship. And so use that to your advantage that, listen, I have had all this experience. I know what I want. I know what I'm looking for in a relationship. And if you find it, be open about that. Be like, you have the qualities that I'm looking for in a partner. I would like to explore this with you. I am serious about finding a relationship, right? I think that's another piece to it. Figure out what strengths you have, being that you would be however many years older than your potential partner, and leverage that to your advantage. Highlight those qualities to the max, and
Hmm.
age will become less and less of a factor.
Yep. Agreed. Great advice. Okay. The next submission is I have feelings for a woman who just beat cancer. How do I move forward? I'm a 50-year-old divorced man. Over the past year, I've had multiple dates with a wonderful woman. A few months ago, she was diagnosed with cancer, which is thankfully now in remission. We text and talk frequently, but I have avoided pursuing the relationship further because her diagnosis has understandably stressed her out. Out of respect, I don't want to add to her stress. I have genuine feelings for her, but I also don't want to be stuck in the friend zone. What should I do? Okay, first off, I want to thank you for sharing such a heartfelt and vulnerable situation. We know people who have had recent cancer diagnosis, and whether you're the person receiving that news or you are it's a loved one who's receiving that news, it is no doubt very hard to receive. And thank you for sharing. And I know there's a lot of people listening that can probably relate to this.
Mhm.
You obviously care deeply about her well-being, and you're wisely balancing the sensitivity with your own needs for a deeper connection with where she's at. And so I appreciate the fact that you wrote in. I would first and foremost acknowledge her journey. She probably, more than anything, wants to be seen and wants to be heard. And so start by recognizing her strength and her resilience. Let her know that you admire not only her courage through this challenge, but also the woman that she is now, that she's beyond this diagnosis. Um, that shows that you see her fully beyond just that diagnosis. Um, and I would also be very gentle about expressing how you feel for her. When the time feels right, I think that's when you can consider opening up about your feelings in a very low pressure way. I think a good way to go about that is asking her, like, how does she see her future? Ask her what's next and see where she goes with that. And then I would just balance your patience with a lot of honesty about what it is that you're looking for. But I think that those are some ways that you can gently pose the question or explore what the
Um,
next steps are.
yeah, I wish we had a little bit more context to this because multiple dates over a year time span. Like, I wonder if he's saying in 2025 or 2024. Like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
wonder what he meant by over the past year he's had multiple dates, because that would better help figure out the path forward here. Because if you guys have known each other for over a year and you've been in contact throughout the year. Like, it's not just like somebody that you met and like somebody you just met and then she got a diagnosis like this, where you would probably be more hands off. Like, she would probably lean on other people in her life to kind of work through this diagnosis. But you guys have known each other for a year. So, depending on what your dynamic or what your relationship has been leading up to this point, might already be in the friend zone if it's been over a year and you haven't told her how it is that you feel, right? That's a long time to not express these feelings.
Mhm.
And I'm a little bit like, you might already be there because it's been so long, but I don't think that means that you can't explore this as an option. I think that if you're going to, I would say it is time to just be upfront about where you're at and what your feelings are. And again, like we were saying to Keith, I would just be honest and but approach it in a more sensitive way. Hey, I don't want to put any pressure on this. I don't want to add any stress to your life, but I feel like we have a really good relationship and I feel like I've really enjoyed the time that we have spent together and I would be interested in exploring if this relationship had a future. I don't know where you're at and I don't want to add to what it is that you have going on in your life, but I wanted you to know where I was at and then go from there, right? I think that it doesn't have to be over like much more complicated than that. I think that you telling her how you feel is very fair in a situation like
Mhm.
this. And then let her tell you where she's at, right? Let her tell you if she's even in a space where she wants to date or focus on dating or focus on building relationships, or if this is a phase in her life where she's focused on herself and healing and taking care of herself, then go from there, right? There's so many questions otherwise. There's so many things left unsaid that are going to leave you to make assumptions that isn't necessary, right? I think just get your answers that you need and then decide how to move forward. It'll be very clear if you give her that conversation
And
where
that
she,
safe space.
yeah, in a safe space. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it'll be very clear where she's at and where she stands on the front of exploring relationships with anybody,
Yeah.
but exploring a relationship with you. So yeah, I appreciate that out of respect for her and not wanting to add stress on her, that you have been trying to be sensitive about this and you've been trying to give her space. I do think that was the right thing to do, especially around the cancer diagnosis. I think now that she's in remission and hopefully has had a little bit of space from that experience, now it seems like a fair time to have that conversation with her and just see where she's at. And maybe if it's not a right now thing, then maybe in the future when she's had more space from the diagnosis, she will be looking for a relationship and she'll know that where you stand, or she'll know that at one point where you did stand, right? And that you are an option potentially, right? When if she comes back around. So
Yeah.
that's how I'd handle it. I don't think that this conversation should add stress to her if you handle it the right way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you just are respectful about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think there's anything more to say.
Yeah.
I think we wish you clarity and
Yeah.
a very healthy connection
Yeah. For
and
sure.
keep us in the loop.
All right. So for the last one, we titled, Should I Reach Out to the One That Got Away? Hi. This may be a little bit different from the typical questions you get. A little background: I'm 31, live in Chicago, and I have been on a handful of dates over the years, but nothing serious. It took me a while to find a career I liked, so I focused on that for the last few years before feeling ready to date with intention. Fast forward to this past summer, a woman from my building slipped a note under my door asking if I was single. I'm obsessed with this already.
I
Who is
knew
she?
you were going to
And
pick this one.
I want to know everything about this girl. Okay. We hit it off and went on a few dates. I'm a little shy and reserved, and while I really liked her, I could see the writing on the wall that things would end. She had to move to the suburbs for financial reasons, which made it harder for me to see her. I knew the "you're great, but I don't see this going any further" text was coming. It obviously hurt, but I eventually moved on and went on other dates except I keep comparing them to her. I know she's still single. I've seen her on dating apps. And my question, is it okay to reach out to her again now that I've grown and I feel more confident? She was great, and I take responsibility for the spark fading the first time. If I should reach out, what's the best move, or should I just move on and let it be?
Thank you for sharing such a cute story. It
Yeah.
sounds like your experience with her left a meaningful impression.
It's always the guys in Chicago. I don't know what it is about you Chicago boys. You have stories like this up the wazoo. It's so funny.
Yeah, I think it's completely natural to wonder if there's a chance to reconnect now that you're feeling more confident. I think if you do reach out, I would highly recommend really honoring your growth. You have grown personally and professionally. And I think by you addressing it in that way, it's going to give a fresh kind of start. I think you're showing that maybe a little bit of vulnerability. You're recognizing that there may have been a gap there. You saw it. Have, you recognized your room for growth. You've
Mhm.
filled that gap and want to see how that can contribute, that kind of growth can contribute to potentially a relationship. I think that there is something very, I don't know, fresh and inspiring about that. And it's a good way to frame it.
Mm.
So that would be my first piece of advice. Do you have anything?
Yeah, I think listen, I don't think that there's a wrong answer to this. If you want to reach out, great, do it. If you but I would understand your reasons for wanting to reach back out. Is it to prove that you are this new and improved guy? Is it because you want her to want you? Is it because I think there's so many reasons why somebody would want to do this. And I don't think that, let's say it is for the reason of wanting to show her, like, hey, this is what you're missing out on. Like, this is the new me, or to even just want her to want you back. I think that's so normal. And I think that a lot of people experience that. I've been there. But I would like really question at the end of the day, is this somebody that you truly see a connection with? Is this somebody that you truly could see knowing what you learned about her the first go around? Is this somebody that you think you truly could be in a potential relationship with? If that is the case for you, then yeah, I don't think it's out of the question to reach back out. Last summer, we're coming up on a year depending on when that was. And so I don't think it's out of the question. I think that people's situations change, their ideas and what they want in a relationship change.
Hmm.
And so it's not it I don't think it's crazy to reach back out and see if there could be something there, but I would do it with the intent that you want. Like I would think about what it is that you really want out of
Hmm.
this, like your true reason for wanting to reach back out. Like it's amazing that you have this newfound confidence and that you want to show women that and you want to express that, but do it for the right reasons. Don't do it because you want her to want you back, like just for the sake of wanting her to want you back. Do it because you truly see a potential there now that you've had the time for yourself, now that you feel you're like you're most confident and all the
Hmm.
things. I like that you took the time to like really find your confidence. I
Hmm.
think that's going to pay you dividends down the road. And I think that if this one doesn't work out, don't let that shake this newfound confidence that you have because you deserve to be with somebody who wants to be with you back. And so if this plays out where you end up putting yourself back out there and she still feels the same way or she's not interested, like that says nothing about you and it says everything about her and where she's at, right?
Yep.
Like you did what you could in this situation. If you end up reaching back out, like you were just doing this to
Yeah.
see if something has changed. And it's not to convince her that she should want to change or she should change the way she feels.
Or get some sort of confirmation from her. You
Yeah, or
already know.
validation.
Yeah. So your journey is always about continuous growth. So at the end of the day, if reaching out to her feels right to you, by all means do it.
Yeah.
But reconnecting, there's always a chance that the outcome might not be what you're hoping for.
Yeah.
And either way, your honesty and confidence are both wins.
Yeah.
So I think you just have to frame this as ongoing growth. And sometimes revisiting the past can lead to an unexpected opportunity. You're not going to know unless you just ask her. But at the end of the day, it is a win for you, no matter how you cut it. Again,
Yeah.
as always, our advice to you is to just ask her, but make sure you're in the right frame of mind, that
Yeah.
this is all about your growth.
Yeah. Do it from a place that makes sense. And if you do decide to do it, your second question was, what's the best move or what's the best way to do this? I think the most confident thing that you can do is reach out. Like, I would send her a message and I would just say, "Hey, Sarah, it's Jake from last summer."
State Farm.
Okay, I'm not cutting that out. I'm leaving that. Okay.
What does
try
Sarah have
this
to say
again.
to Jake from State Farm?
No. Okay, I need to pick different, more creative names because I always go to Jake, Jack, John,
And Sarah, apparently.
and Sarah. Sarah and Jess. I don't know why those are like the two names that I can
I think
come
last
up with.
time it was Kate.
Or Kate. That's a good one too. Yeah, I don't know. Generic in that way. I think you should say something super simple, but something that really shows your confidence. You don't have to go in depth about your guys' past or anything like that. I would just lay it out there. I would simply say, "Hey, Sarah, it's Jake from last summer. I hope you're doing well. I would love to catch up and buy you a drink. If you're open to it, how's this Friday?" It does not have to be this long, drawn out paragraph about how much you changed and how she should give you a second chance. You're not proving anything to her. You're simply sending out a message to see where she's at and see if she wants to try this again. And if she doesn't, then you have your closure, you have your clarity, and you can move on. And if she does, great, let's get to setting it up. But don't overcomplicate it. It's so much more confident in you just putting it out there and allowing her to give whatever response instead of you putting it out there with a big explanation of why she should want to get back together with you or why she should want to reconnect with you. It's not needed. Like I said, you're not trying to prove something to her. You're just putting it out there to see if she's open to it or if she would want to reconnect and then go from there. Don't overcomplicate this one. I think that is a very confident way of going about it. And she'll see that too. And so, yeah, that's how I would approach it.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And keep us in the loop. We'd love to hear back from you.
Yeah. And sorry if you put your name in here. Some of you guys put your name in the submissions, but you don't put it in the actual submission that you write. You just leave your name in the spot that it's supposed to be. And I forget to grab it sometimes. So if you did give us your name, so sorry about that. I'm sure it's not Jake.
From State Farm.
Yeah.
All right. That wraps up episode 14. And thank you again for listening. And make sure that you send this podcast to a friend that might come to mind as you are listening to this advice. We would really appreciate your efforts in reviewing or rating the podcast, as well as sharing the podcast.
Definitely leave us a rating if you haven't yet. That's how we get pushed out to more people. So if you
we can take
want
over
this podcast to keep growing, if you want it to have a real production team that knows what they're doing, then keep pushing this podcast out.
Yeah. Subtle threat.
Yeah.
All right. Until next time, take care.